So my boy over here, he is not afraid of the vet. And I'm going to tell you how to train yours. Okay, so there are a couple of things. Why are they afraid of going to the vet? Well, partially because we make a big deal out of it, but there's also these, needles, and they're also, being, touched in various ways that are not very comfortable and they don't know what's going on. And they're like basically they're like babies, except they can't talk and we can't talk to them, and there's no hope of communicating with them, in that way, right? So, I'll tell you the first thing is, it'd be a good idea if you can start training them starting from when they're young, right? After getting, this guy, so I got him when he was 8 weeks old. And of course, we take him to the vet, and over the years, many vets. And he's not an easy dog to raise. I'll tell you that. He's been to the ER many times. He's chewed all kinds of stuff. He's made it very difficult for me at times. And he doesn't always listen. He definitely didn't listen when he was younger. So he's eight and a half years old now. So he's well trained now. Okay, so get to the point. First thing is, I actually never use the word vet. Like, I don't say, "Hey, we're going to the vet." I don't want to make it, something out to be something that is distinguishable, right? If every time I say, "Hey, we're going to the vet," and we end up going to the vet, and he has a bad experience, he's going to start um, to dread that experience. So what I do is I'm basically just like, hey, we're just going. We're just going. Hey, put on your leash. We're going, and then we get in the car. That's pretty much it. Just like any other day, right? Um, and so all he's thinking about is, yeah, we're just going for a car ride, and he hops in the truck, and we start driving. No different than if we're going for a walk. No different than if we're going to a state park, going to a hiking trail. No different than if we're going to a lake, right? Going to the dog park, whatever it is. It's the same, right? Or going to boarding to a daycare. So that's that, right? And so the second thing is, try to train. There's a couple of things that one of the reasons to train them to do the paw, to do the handshake thing, is so that they get comfortable of you touching, or anybody else touching their paws. And I would also extend that to the hind legs, right? I would touch his front paws, his back paws. I would fluff his tail from time to time. I would, have him lay on his back. I was just kind of randomly touching parts of his belly, or any other kind of ways that, you know, a vet might manipulate their body to be able to figure out if there's anything wrong, right? So I do that often. So from a young age, and then reward them with a piece of chicken, with some treat or whatever. So he's not at all afraid of being touched, right? So that's the second thing. All right. So the third thing is, when you go to the vet, make sure it's a good vet, right? I always look up online. I check out, the reviews online, and make sure that, other people have a good experience at the vet. I don't want to go to a vet where um, there's a ton of bad reviews. I've never gone to a vet that has like a mediocre review. I just don't want to take that chance. So the other thing is, when you go to the vet, try to make the experience at the vet more comfortable as well. So usually at the vet, your dog is you're gonna be sitting there waiting to be seen, right? So what I do is, I go there, um, and when I'm sitting there, I'll make a point to play with him a little bit. And the other thing is, I also kind of make a point to, um, always reward him after maybe an injection or something like that, like the that may be a little unpleasant, so that he associate vet visits with some treats, right? So that's always another thing, which I think has been successful. And the other thing is, sometimes the vet might, you know, do certain things that might be a little bit more painful. That they might have to hold them down or stuff like that. I actually recommend that you not be there when there's some really uncomfortable procedures, right? So that you know, so that your dog doesn't think that you're there watching them suffer. I don't know. I don't think that's a good idea, right? I think it kind of breaks the trust. They don't understand that, it's good for them. They just think that they're being violated or whatever. And you're there watching, and you're also, maybe there holding them down. I feel like that's just one of the ways, that's just one of the things that might, um, break the trust, or at least not be conducive to that. So I usually I'm usually not there when things like that happens. And then I usually, when he's done, I usually give him a hug when he comes out. Sometimes he'll whine, whimper and stuff like that, to kind of basically trying to tell on the doctors. He's basically trying to tell me, like, yo, they stuck a needle in me or something like that, or things like that. Okay, the other tip I have for you is, know your dog. So know what makes them more comfortable or be distracted. So my boy over here is usually distracted by one thing, and that's a high value treat, right? So what I do is I tell the vet or the nurse, hey, this is how you can distract him. Hold a piece of, whatever treat, high value piece of meat or whatever, and hold it in front of his nose. So he'll be, basically distracted the whole time. And you can stick a needle. You can do some, you can do your injections or whatever. He will typically not fight you. And so that's what I usually do. Um, and finally, um, I, I after being done at the vet, I basically I like to take him, home, um, and give him, like, a little bit of a walk afterwards. I don't know if this necessarily helps, but just so that overall he's thinking, we didn't just go out there and go to the vet and be done. That we actually sniffed around and we actually did a little bit of walking. Um, that's another thing. All right, so he seems to be going at that husky toy. So I'm gonna record him a little bit longer here, even though I'm done talking. It's kind of cute.